Yo, this is how I lost $5,000 day trading the Nasdaq and S&P 500 this morning, leaving us up $20,000 on the week, or month. So still really good profits so far. And I missed out on a 1 to 4 risk to reward yesterday because I was taking an exam, and it would have been one take profit, and I risked $5,000. So I could have made 20 bands yesterday, but I was taking an exam, and today could have been a good trading day. But I did not. I switched my bias and I ended up taking a loss. So we will get into that. I took the trade on ES. Took longs, immediately got stopped out. Um, but my original bias. So going into today, we had these hourly highs that had been swept out um, during pre-market, and then we had mainly this high right here. These were extended take profits actually. I'll leave that last one up, but it was just 15-minute highs, so I really wasn't looking to target those, but mainly this hourly high. On I really just wanted to see it get swept on Nasdaq. Let me get rid of these low resistance highs. But I really just wanted to see this high get swept on Nasdaq, and that's when I was going to close my position on ES, but it didn't end up happening. Um, we had we had these stacked highs that had already been swept out, so it was originally a bearish SMT. So my original bias was shorts down to this daily low, um, but and as you can see, that ended up happening. But I switched my bias to longs after we broke 5 minute structure to the upside. Now, so we originally had a bearish SMT coming into market open, with ES not having swept out these highs yet. So right around here. Um, and so I was expecting us to reverse, but then market opened right here. I can mark that out. Market opened right here, and we came up and swept both those highs out. Uh, and then we broke structure to the upside on ES and broke structure to the downside on NASDAQ. So I originally wanted to take shorts off these, but when we came back up and swept even more highs, I was like, I mean, ES had broken structure. I wanted to see us, I guess, continue that structure. But so we had seen break structure to the upside on Nasdaq and ES. I scaled down to the 1 minute, and that's when I made my first mistake. I should have stayed on the 5 minute because we should have had a retest of 5 minute order flow. The reason why I scaled down was because we had this 5 minute SMT during market open. We swept market open lows, made a 5 minute SMT on ES and NASDAQ. So I wanted to take the trade on ES, and I'm not gonna lie, I just entered off us um, breaking structure to the upside and filling this 1 minute fair value gap, which was not nearly enough confluence. Again, I didn't wait for, so this was a 5 minute that we ended up making. This was when I was still looking for a second trade. I didn't end up taking one, but man, I even drew out equilibrium, but we just tanked right through it. So yeah, I took a trade off of filling this 1 minute and then breaking structure to the upside, targeting really just this hourly draw. So a pretty short trade, stops underneath the fair value gap first candle. We were in profit for a little bit and then just tanked straight down. So I should have waited for a 5 minute retrace to equilibrium, or this 5 minute fair value gap that got formed, and I would have seen us break structure to the downside again. But I didn't, and we got stopped out. I waited for a little more confirmation to go lower because I was like, okay, my bias was wrong. Now my bias is showing that we maybe don't want those highs, and we can look for shorts. But then we broke structure again to the upside, and from there, I just wanted to hop off the charts. So when we broke structure back up to the upside, I hopped off the charts and called it a day, accepted the loss. I think what I should have done was waited for this 5 minute break of structure, and then really, I don't think I would have really found a trade if I had kept my original bias until we had this retrace all the way up, but then we inverse that bearish fair value gap on the 5 minute. So really, I would have just had to scale down, honestly, either at 10:55 or 11, and just waited for a retrace past 11, which didn't end up happening until 11:07. And I guess you could have shorted there, stops up here, and then target the original low that we were planning on targeting. So overall, not my best trade. Clearly, it was a loss. I should have waited for a 5 minute retrace, and I should have stuck with my original bias. But to be honest, with us this close to a 4 hour high, that is the most obvious draw on liquidity. So I don't think it was wrong for me to want to take longs up to those highs. But I did have an original bias that we should be trading away from these highs because it had already been swept. So as you can see, this original fire high had already been swept, and so we had already broken structure to the downside, but it was hard for me to go against this strong uptrend going into the market. Now, we were up around 1.3% when market opened, which is already up really high on the day. So it was hard to fight that trend up and take shorts. And honestly, I think that this high probably, it would have made sense to sweep. But, ultimately, I did want to see these lows get swept. And that is what ended up happening. So with that being said, original bias played out. Short video today, but original bias played out. We are in an overall downtrend, which I think is a good thing. I like that we're going down, and I want to see us go lower. High time frame. Let's clear. Actually, wait, I can't because I have to journal today. But high time frame. We are headed down. I want to see kind of this low resistance liquidity get swept, but really not expecting a reaction off of it. We could see a little bit of a reaction here. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a retrace. I'll honestly sell a little bit of my S&P holdings if we do kind of bottom here for a second and make rotations to the upside. I will sell into that buy pressure because ultimately I want to see us take out these lows and these lows, which is another 2% and 5% drop. And then I could see us retesting. I've said this every single video this week, but I could see us retesting all-time highs down here. So somewhere around this gray box is where I would want to fill orders. Whoa, sorry, that's ugly. This green box is where I'd want to fill orders. So I'd fill my first orders around here. Because I want to see these lows get swept before moving higher into 2026. Bottom up here, and then it's just a bull run for 2026. I think that makes sense. I think that looks good. We've really officially kind of topped the year. I need to see a close below this low, so that then we're in kind of no man's land besides this low resistance low. And then we can kind of swoop here before heading back up. So with that being said, guys, short video, but up 20 bands on the week still. On the month still. I should be up low key. I should be up 40 bands, but it's okay. Lots of time, nothing to rush. And it's a good week so far. I'm going to keep my head up high, and let's take higher probability trades next time. this was a little bit rushed, a little bit, I wasn't as patient. I kind of wanted to jump in when my overall bias would have ended up playing out at, even though it was at 11, I probably wouldn't have taken a trade at that point, but my original bias did end up playing out. And we have to remember that when that happens, even if we miss a trade, we cannot be upset, because if you predicted where the market wanted to go, even though you missed your trade, even if you missed your trade entry, you still predicted where the market wanted to go, and 99% of people can't do that. So, with that being said, let's keep our heads held high. We're still up so much this month. We have November is ending in a couple of days. We have Thanksgiving coming up, so I'm not really expecting too much profits being made towards the end of November. We're gonna take it cautious and look for reasons not to trade. So with that being said, personally, I'm going to be selling into any buy pressure that we see, and then looking to fill orders a lot lower for a really good entry. Additionally, real quick, let's look at crypto real quick. Great entries, great entry opportunities. Filled in this green box, and I'm filling in this green box. Great entry opportunities. I have increased my, I've doubled my Bitcoin holding, and I've increased my portfolio, my crypto portfolio, by at least $15,000, and that's being down 10,000 on the month, and like 13,000 from the highs, maybe 15,000 from the highs. I've kept my portfolio. I've now, since the peak of my portfolio, I'm now have a higher value of crypto total in my crypto holdings. So if that means anything, what that means is I've owned $20,000 in Bitcoin. I can make $10,000 by the time we get back to all-time highs. What would I like to see? Well, we're probably going lower, because this was kind of the last low resistance liquidity, besides that we just had this gap. We're probably going lower. So I want to see, I want to fill orders in this box. And right now, guys, it's looking like we're going to come sweep down to these lows. Actually, mark it red so it stands out. Those lows, we have these lows. We have all this low resistance liquidity down here. And whoa, there. All this low resistance liquidity down here. And guess what? That is at all previous all-time highs, really. That is at these highs down here. All of this low resistance liquidity. So personally, I think we're going to go lower, sweep all that low resistance liquidity, test all-time highs, probably get to equilibrium, right? That is literally the fibs equilibrium from the previous spike. And that's what it's looking like. It looks like we're going to probably see a sub 75K Bitcoin, which is huge. If I can get my Bitcoin holdings to half a Bitcoin, if I can own half a Bitcoin, I'll be ecstatic. So that's what I'm looking for with crypto and the stock market as a whole. I'm excited. I can't wait. I want to make more money so that I can put more in, and I hope you guys can too. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, and I will see you next trade. Peace.